This video is about the remarkable life and journey of Karl Marx, a German philosopher and socialist whose ideas reshaped the world. Though Marx lived a life marked by poverty, loss, and illness, his writings, especially the Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital, became the cornerstone for revolutions that would alter the course of the 20th century. Despite his struggles during his lifetime, Marx's legacy continues to influence modern sociology, politics, and economics. Karl Marx was born in 1818 in Trier, Prussia, to Heinrich and Henrietta Marx. He was the eldest surviving son among 9 siblings. Heinrich Marx, a lawyer, was greatly influenced by Enlightenment thinkers like Immanuel Kant and Voltaire. Although both Heinrich and Henrietta were originally Jewish, they later converted to Christianity, likely due to professional pressures, and Karl was also baptized as a Christian. Karl attended a high school led by a liberal principal, who was a friend of Heinrich's, which drew the attention of the local authorities, leading to a police raid on a school in 1832. Marx then went on to study humanities at the University of Bonn, where he was known for causing trouble, getting arrested for drunkenness, and even engaging in fights, among other antics. His father urged him to transfer to the more academically rigorous University of Berlin, where Karl pursued studies in law and philosophy. While attending the University of Berlin, Marx became involved with a radical faction known as the Young Hegelians, a group deeply influenced by the ideas of George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. This circle included other prominent leftist intellectuals, such as Bruno Bauer and Ludwig Feuerbach. However, Marx's academic performance declined during the period, partly due to the Prussian government's increasing repression of radicals at the university. As a result, he submitted his doctoral dissertation, The Difference Between the Democritean and Epicurean Philosophy of Nature, to the University of Jena, where he earned his degree. Unable to continue his academic career because of his left-wing ideology, Marx turned to journalism. In 1842, he began writing for several radical publications, starting with Rhineland News in Cologne. Through these articles, Marx started to articulate his early socialist ideas. Nevertheless, the Prussian government censored the newspaper, eventually shutting it down in 1843. Marx took on the role of co-editor for the Dutch Französische Jahrbucher, German-French Annals, and relocated to Paris with his wife, Jenny von Westphalen, to whom he had been engaged for several years. It was during this time, with this short-lived publication, that he encountered the German socialist Friedrich Engels at a cafe on August 28, 1844. This meeting marked the beginning of a friendship that would greatly influence Marx's career. Engels, who had observed the working-class struggles in England, argued in his work, The Condition of the Working Class in England in 1844, that the working class would be the driving force behind an emancipatory revolution. While contributing to another newspaper, Vorwärts, or Forward, Marx was expelled from Paris and relocated to Brussels, Belgium. In Brussels, he and Engels co-authored Die Heilige Familie, or The Holy Family, a critique of Hegel's idealism. Marx believed Hegel's philosophy was overly focused on spirit and ideas, whereas he and Engels were convinced that real change could only arise from material actions. During this period, Marx also penned The German Ideology and Thesis on Feuerbach, although he was unable to secure a publisher for these works, which would only see publication posthumously. Marx was involved with a covert radical organization known as the League of the Just. He believed that by transforming this secretive group into a public political party, it could genuinely mobilize the working class into a mass movement. In 1847, the organization emerged from the shadows, rebranding itself as the Communist League. To articulate the group's objectives and ideology, Marx authored and published one of his most famous and widely recognized works, the Communist Manifesto, on February 21, 1848. The pamphlet begins with the iconic line, "The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles." It then outlines 10 immediate steps to transition the country toward communism, advocating for measures such as free education for children, a progressive income tax, and the elimination of inheritance. The manifesto concludes with the powerful call to action. The proletarians have nothing to lose but their chains. They have a world to win. Working men of all countries, unite. The year 1848 witnessed a surge of revolutions across Europe, notably in Italy, Austria, and France. In France, the working class successfully overthrew the monarchy, leading to the brief establishment of the French Second Republic. Marx returned to France during this revolutionary period after being expelled from Belgium on suspicion of supporting local uprisings. However, his time in France was short-lived, as he was expelled once again. After being denied re-entry into Belgium, Marx eventually settled in London with his wife, where he would reside for the remainder of his life, though he was never granted citizenship. The Communist League didn't last long, as internal disagreements emerged. Some members pushed for immediate action and working-class uprising, while Marx and Engels believed that more time was needed to gather support from the liberal bourgeoisie. Around this period, Marx faced financial difficulties, relying solely on his work for the New York Daily Tribune, a publication edited by Charles A. Dana and Horace Greeley, until it changed hands in 1863. To make ends meet, Marx depended on Engels for financial assistance. In 1864, Marx became active in the International Working Men's Association, also known as the First International, which played a significant role in advocating for various European trade unions, eventually growing to 800,000 members. However, internal divisions caused its eventual disbandment. A faction led by Russian anarchist Mikhail Bakunin opposed Marx and Engels' belief in the necessity of collaborating with the Liberal Party to ensure the success of the trade unions. During Marx's involvement with the First International, the Paris Commune of 1871 unfolded, marking, according to Engels, the first dictatorship of the proletariat. During the Franco-Prussian War, members of the working-class National Guard rebelled against the Third Republic, seizing control of Paris and establishing a socialist government for 2 months. However, this was brutally crushed by the French army, with as many as 20,000 communards killed. Marx's ideas are most comprehensively outlined in his magnum opus, Das Kapital. This work, consisting of 3 volumes, was largely published posthumously, with only the first volume appearing during Marx's lifetime in 1867. Engels published the remaining volumes after Marx's death. In Das Kapital, Marx elaborates on his theory that capital is generated through the exploitation of the laboring classes, whose unpaid labor produces surplus value that enriches the owning classes. Marx argued that the inherent contradictions of capitalism would eventually lead to its downfall, prompting the working class to rise up and establish a communist government where the proletariat would control industry and production. Das Kapital was translated into all major languages, with the English edition first appearing in 1887, under the title Capital, a critical analysis of capitalist production. Throughout his life, Marx struggled with various health issues, including depression, liver problems worsened by heavy drinking, overworking, and chronic insomnia. In his later years, he also endured painful skin welts. Marx died of bronchitis and pleurisy on March 15, 1883, 2 years after the death of his wife. He was laid to rest at Highgate Cemetery, where his tombstone was later engraved with the closing line of the Communist Manifesto, "Workers of all lands, unite," as well as a quote from his thesis on Feuerbach. The philosophers have only interpreted the world in various ways. The point, however, is to change it. Marx's ideas had a profound impact on numerous 20th century revolutions, including the Russian Revolution, which led to the establishment of the Soviet Union. Political figures such as Nelson Mandela, Fidel Castro, Vladimir Lenin, Mao Zedong, and Jawaharlal Nehru also drew inspiration from Marx's work.